In today's video, we're going to talk about emergency funds. This is the fourth video in the series about financial education. An emergency fund is money that you set aside to cover urgent or unexpected costs and is your safety net for the curly balls life throws at us every now and then. It may sound common sense that we all should have some savings, but actually 21% of Australian families have less than $1,000 stashed away. And the numbers are very similar for Americans too. If you are in one of those families, you can make choices today to make sure that you put yourself in a safer financial spot. If you are not in one of those families, you can at least improve your situation and put yourself in a nice, safe position. Do not rely on anyone to make this happen. Your finances are your responsibility. It's not your parents, it's not your partners, and it's not your government's. So toughen up and let's get going. You will feel safe and empowered when you get it done. So how to build an emergency fund? Where do we keep it? When to use it? Well, if you have zero savings or very close to it, you need to be quick and get yourself at least $1,000 to $2,000 in your emergency fund as quickly as you can. Seriously, consider cutting your expenses and look around in your house and try to find stuff you can flog on Facebook Marketplace to get some money quickly. Stop whining about it. Just do it. Your future self will be proud of you. You never know when an emergency will happen, and it could very well be tomorrow. This money needs to be separated from your checking account. It needs to be hard enough for you to get to it, so you don't use it for impulse buys. But it also needs to be readily available for when you actually need to use that to pay for an emergency. A savings account is usually ideal to keep this money, but you can also use your offset account if you have one. Just make sure that this money is separate from your day-to-day account and any other savings you have. A very special point to consider is that your emergency fund is not investment money. You should not be focused on getting huge returns on it. So avoid putting it in volatile stuff like shares or investment funds, and especially not Bitcoin. You don't want to risk these funds going down quickly in value just before you need it. You should only use that money in case you have an urgent expense that you really can't pay in any other way without going into debt. You use the emergency fund if you have to pay for a repair out of the blue, or if you need to go on an emergency travel to tend for a relative, or even to pay for a medical bill. If it is an expense that you can plan for, like your taxes or your vehicle registration, you should not be using your emergency fund. Also, don't use it to pay for holidays, groceries, utilities bills, and much less to buy stuff. You are all reasonable, intelligent people, so act reasonable and rational about it. So, how big should that fund be? Is it really just $2,000? Is that enough? It actually depends, like anything else in life really. It depends on your age, it depends on your financial situation. The initial emergency fund should be enough to cover minor emergencies, hence that small number that we just mentioned of about $2,000. That is usually enough to keep the majority of us from going into debt due to minor mishaps. Once you have that first emergency covered, then you need to assess your financial situation. If you have commercial debt, like credit card or a car loan, hold off from increasing your emergency fund and seriously focus on paying down debt as quickly as you can. Even quicker than you would assume you can. Really throw your weight into it. If you don't have any debt, then you can start building a nice buffer in your emergency fund. I recommend something like 3 to 6 months of your expenses. This will allow you to get by in case you get sick or you lose your job. These are only rules of thumb. You need to think about how much safety you need to live your life without financial stress, and that will set your personal number. For people who are retired or close to being retired, the rule of thumb is to have around 2 to 3 years of expenses in your emergency fund. This is to avoid you from withdrawing from your retirement savings in case of a market downturn when your assets are way down in value. I strongly recommend seeking a financial planner for specific advice, especially for the retirees. Do some research and find one where you only pay a fee instead of a percentage of your assets. If you like this content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And tell me your thoughts about your emergency fund. What do you do with yours? What could we do different? We're building a community. We need to help each other in getting good ideas out there. Share this content so we can reach more people that need help. Thank you guys. See you soon.